Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Significant updates today, this Saturday, October 4th, 2025, 729 days since October 7th, 2023. We're only a few days away from the 2-year mark of war, starvation, bombing, hunger, hostages being held. Hamas announced yesterday that it agrees to release all of the Israeli hostages alive or their bodies under the proposal that was put forward by President Trump. They said that they were ready to immediately enter into mediated negotiations to discuss the details of the plan. Here's the situation. President Trump and Netanyahu announced Monday a week ago the 20-point plan that Israel and the United States had come to, this agreement, and they gave Hamas a few days to accept or not. Now, it's important to know that this acceptance that just was announced yesterday is really, so far, only the political wing of Hamas. It's yet to be seen whether or not the military wing will acquiesce and what role it will play. But it was also accepted with conditions. So there's these 20 basic plans, but Hamas signaled willingness to release the hostages, but they're also demanding firmer commitments from Israel that the military has to withdraw from Gaza. And perhaps what's most difficult for the Israelis to accept, the Israeli government, is a discussion about what role it will play in the future of a unified Palestinian state. You'll recall that Netanyahu said on Monday he does not support a two-state solution. In U.S. consultations with Israel earlier in the week, new details were added to the vague sequence and to the extent of the IDF withdrawal from Gaza after the ceasefire. The document that was finally handed to Hamas said that the IDF would withdraw based on standards, milestones, and timeframes linked to demilitarization that will be agreed upon. In other words, they're just starting negotiations on these issues. Now, among the IDF, an international stabilization force, and the United States. A map included with the final ceasefire proposal showed lines of progressive Israeli retreat without indicating when, without indicating the conditions, and there was a permanent Israeli perimeter force inside of Gaza's border, which essentially means there still would be a blockade. So there is a lot still to be determined in terms of the ceasefire possibilities and negotiations. Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the PA, welcomed Hamas's response to the plan set forward by Trump, the president's subsequent remarks calling for an end to the war. Israeli and Hamas negotiating teams are now preparing for talks. They're supposed to begin tomorrow in Cairo. The Israeli delegation is led by Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer. Israeli defense officials have begun examining which Palestinian prisoners they might include in the list of prisoners Israel would agree to release as a part of the deal. In other words, these negotiations have been going on for 2 years, and so there's still so much to be negotiated. Now, President Trump, he posted on Truth Social saying that he appreciates Israel's temporary halt to bombing in Gaza. He urged Hamas to move quickly or else all bets are off. He said that Israel has stopped the bombing. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Trump's envoy Witkoff is expected to land in Cairo today, Saturday, for those negotiations. CBS News reported that Witkoff will be joined by President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who also worked and will work to finalize key details of the deal. An analyst writing in Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, said that Trump ignoring Hamas and Israel's reservations is to bend reality in Gaza to his will. Since he made this ceasefire agreement, Netanyahu and Hamas are making sure they're not seen as the ones that are causing the plan to fail. They're signing a hostage release deal. They're saying that it would hurt both Palestinian and Israeli leadership domestically if they were the ones to back out. But the deal is so far from being finalized. One of our Churches for Middle East Peace staff, who's a former U.S. Foreign Service officer, said this about what's happening in the ceasefire front. It seems like a psychological shift in favor of implementing Trump's plan is taking hold in many quarters. The dynamic seems to be that everyone even remotely interested in an end to the Gaza killing is acting as if this plan's going to work, which then creates momentum that makes questioning the plan or bringing up other issues seem antisocial or antithetical to that progress. South Africa welcomed Hamas's response to Gaza's proposal, and they're urging Israel to reciprocate. So that happened this week. the same South African government that's been active in the case on the ICJ against Israel for genocide in Gaza. This brings up other issues that may be impolitic, while America might be moving forward. October 3rd, senior Hamas leader called the U.S. plan for a 72-hour window to free hostages completely unrealistic. Now, this is the official Musa Abu Marzouk. He told Al Jazeera that Hamas accepts in principle the main facets of the plan, but he argues that the proposal's implementation requires negotiation. He said part of the issue is that it's unrealistic to have the hostages released in 72 hours. He told this to Arab mediators. He said they don't know where some of the bodies of the slain hostages are located. It'll take a while to locate them and then deliver them back to Israel. He also said that the creation of an international stabilization force to replace the IDF in Gaza has to have clarification. It's very important to note, and I mentioned this already, that the political wing of Hamas is the one outside of Gaza that's accepted the agreement. The military wing, as of yet, had not. According to the Times of Israel, the 20-point plan is very vague in terms of where the Israeli forces will withdraw to. I mentioned some of these things already. The illustrative map demarcating the phased withdrawal. The image doesn't appear to be created to scale, so there's a lot of questions about that. And then here is the sticking point: the demilitarization of Hamas. Marzouk has told Al Jazeera Hamas will not disarm before the Israeli occupation ends. You should know one of those 20 points in the Trump plan is the demilitarization of Hamas. And the military wing of Hamas is saying no. They're reiterating issues regarding Gaza's future that will be discussed within a comprehensive Palestinian national framework. In other words, Hamas has said they would demilitarize when the occupation is brought to an end, but that includes East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. They also, the political wing at least, say they accept the plan while at the same time disagreeing about demilitarization. Marzouk insists Hamas has negotiated openly and responsibly within the U.S. proposal. I wanted to share with you some words from Laura Friedman, who has talked about what this is like in terms of those who are supporting a post-war plan without bringing an end to what's happening in Gaza. I was meeting with Laura Friedman, who's a Jewish human rights activist in Washington, D.C. on Friday. She's the executive director of Foundation for Middle East Peace. And when we were having lunch, she said something I thought was so profound, I wanted to share it with you. She said, it's morally obscene for us to be talking about post-war Gaza plans if we have the political will to come up with a plan for post-Gaza governance. How can we not have the political will to bring an end to the daily bombing and atrocities? We have to spend all of our energy each and every day making it end, bringing an end to it. Otherwise, we're supporting, enabling, and telling those who are perpetuating the violence, just go ahead and finish the job. And friends, I want to be very clear. What the job is, according to Netanyahu's government and certainly the far right in Israel, the job is either displacing all of the Palestinians in Gaza, in the entire enclave, displacing them, or killing them. Laura is not wrong. Channel 12 News in Israel reported, and this is according to Hebrew translations. I don't speak modern Hebrew. I studied ancient Hebrew a little bit in seminary, but people I trust said this translation is correct. In the case of a Hamas refusal to this plan, anyone who stays in Gaza will die. That's what was reported on Channel 12 News. New details of this IDF plan in case Hamas says no. Israel would give an ultimatum to the 200,000 residents that still are in Gaza City. The IDF would give them a short period of time to leave the city. Anyone who stays in that city would be deemed a terrorist. From that moment on, no electricity, food, or water. Anyone still left in the city will die. And that's just for Gaza City. The chief of staff has decided ahead of critical days in the Strip that all of IDF's firepower should be moved to the Southern Command. So what's been happening in Gaza in the midst of this? There's been this political agreement. It's ensured the stopping of fighting, but drop site news and social media indicates that that's not actually what's happening on the ground right now. What they're reporting is much more nefarious. Displacement orders were issued to several schools serving as shelter near the Friends of the Patient Hospital on Friday evening in Gaza City. This coincided with an Israeli military attack near the Al-Noor Center in Al-Ramah neighborhood. Families are being forced to flee in the area in the middle of the night, carrying scant belongings. One man being displaced with his family said, "We're rejoicing. Before, when we heard Hamas accepted this proposal, we were so happy. All of the sudden, they were saying that we had to leave, and we found ourselves leaving the place we were in, and we don't know where we're going. Me, my wife, my kids, my daughter, where are we supposed to go? We have no place to go. 5 minutes later, we're happy. Hamas accepted the proposal, and then all of a sudden, we have to evacuate the block." Israeli news reported things differently, saying that following instructions from the Israeli government, the IDF switched overnight into Saturday into only defensive operations in the Gaza Strip, pausing the operation to take control of Gaza City. The Israeli military spokesperson in Arabic issued a warning notice, saying the area north of the Gaza River is still active and dangerous as a combat zone, warning against residents returning to Gaza City. Drop site news reported that in 24 hours, according to the health ministry, 66 people in Gaza have been killed, 265 injured. At least 6 aid workers were killed. 8 people seeking aid were killed, 40 injured. 2 children died of starvation. Friends, here's a part of the news that continues to just be so devastating. The death toll in Gaza has now surpassed 67,000 people. Every week, it's like 1,000 more people being killed. The death toll surpassed 67,000 people, 169,430 injured. Likely the numbers are significantly higher. The Al-Maghazi camp yesterday experienced Israeli strikes. Children made up the majority of those injured. I wanted to share this plea from someone in Gaza. Their name is Tamer Nahed. I know my update today is going over time, but we need to hear these words. I'm speaking to you from inside the city of Gaza, from the heart of destruction, from among tents and rubble and daily pain. I'm telling you what the truth is. People here are dying slowly. There's urgent need for food, clean water, medical care. Nothing is available. Aid does not reach us. Hunger is consuming our lives. Disease is spreading unchecked. Fear is a constant part of every moment we live. People want to survive one day without the sound of shelling, to sleep without explosions, without panic, without the cries of terrified children. Safety no longer exists here. Even sleep is a distant dream. Children have lost everything. It's been more than 3 years without access to education. A generation is being erased before our very eyes. Infants and young children desperately need milk, healthy food, diapers, vaccinations, and even the most basic needs are out of reach. There's no electricity, no clean water, no proper care. The sick suffer in silence. Many urgently need to leave Gaza to receive treatment, but the borders are closed and no one is listening. Countless lives have been lost waiting for help that has never come. Life in Gaza is no longer livable. We're not asking for luxuries, we're asking for survival. This place is collapsing day by day. In truth, it's already collapsed and the world is watching. Please have mercy on the children, have mercy on the elderly, on the women, on the sick. End this war before there is nothing left to save. Meanwhile, Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir were supposed to meet with Netanyahu today. Thousands marched in an Arab town in Israel called Saknin. This was 25 years since the October 2000 riots that occurred when Ariel Sharon visited the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. That was considered by many the launching point of the Second Intifada. 13 people were killed on that day. A woman in Jerusalem was lightly wounded by a car at an area checkpoint in a suspected attack. Israeli settlers raided a Palestinian community in the central West Bank for the second time on Saturday, spraying pepper spray in the face of a human rights activist. Other raids took place in the Bedouin community of El-Khair in the south of the West Bank, where an Israeli settler shot a Palestinian to death in July. That was Hathalin. We've talked quite a bit about him. I'm not sure if this is the same report or a different one, but masked settlers armed with clubs attacked Bedouin Palestinian communities. They beat the residents east of the village of Jabba, hurling stones at them. The IDF force that arrived at the scene, separating the sides by spraying tear gas and preventing the continuation of their raid on the community's homes. Israeli settlers invaded private Palestinian land in the southwest bank, damaging olive trees. That was referring to the village of El-Khair. Iran executed 6 death row inmates today. They were alleged to have carried out attacks in the country's oil-rich southwest on behalf of Israel. Israel's foreign ministry announced that 137 activists who took place in the global Samud flotilla, which aimed to break the Israel siege on Gaza, were deported to Turkey. Arrests were made the past couple of weeks in London. Today was no exception. Dozens were arrested because of their protests against the ban on Palestine action. Things are heating up around the world. There was a mass rally in Rome for the fourth day in a row in Italy. These are pro-Palestinian protests. People are holding banners with Palestinian flags chanting "Free Palestine." They filed past the Colosseum, taking part in a march that organizers hoped would attract at least 1 million people. In Barcelona, it's estimated that 70,000 people showed up for demonstrations protesting Israel's war in Gaza and the IDF's interception of the global Samud flotilla. I'll close with a few Christian updates. The patriarchs and heads of Jerusalem renewed their condemnation of the unjust foreclosure hearing against the Armenian Patriarchate. They issued a recent statement about it. Gaza's parish priest, Father Gabriele Romanelli of the Holy Family Catholic Church, appealed in a video this week and said, "For mercy's sake, stop this war and stop killing people. Everyone here is pleading in mercy," he said, speaking in Spanish, pleading for mercy to take pity, for mercy, for compassion, for them to stop. Cardinal Pizzaballa said, "We have never lived through hardships as harsh as today." Those were his words in a video message during a prayer vigil dedicated to ending the war in Gaza and bringing peace to the Holy Land. I would encourage you to watch those videos. May the Lord go before us. May we be motivated and compelled to no longer be complicit and to do all we can to bring an end, to end it. In the name of Christ, amen.